Let's take a look at some conjectures and see if we can verify them using the law of the syllogism. So the law of the syllogism is the one that says that if P implies Q, and if Q implies R, then P implies R. So let's take a look at this particular example here. See if I can put it up here for you to look at. So we're given the following to be true. So if the measure of angle A is bigger than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees, then angle A is obtuse. So we're given that. We're also given the conditional statement that if angle A is obtuse, then it is not an acute angle. And given that is true, here's the conjecture. If the measure of angle A is bigger than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees, then it is not an acute angle. Well, let's actually write out some of this and see if we can convert this to symbols. So let's let P be the statement that the measure of A is bigger than 90 degrees and less than 180 degrees. Then the first given is that P implies, and let's call Q, angle A is obtuse. So the first statement is P implies Q. What's the second conditional statement? Well, if A is obtuse, that's Q, remember, so that means that we're given that Q implies, then it is not an acute angle. Let's call not an acute angle, that little statement, R. So we're given that P implies Q, and we're given that Q implies R, and the question is, can we now conclude this? Well, what is that? Well, if the measure of A is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180, well, that's actually a P. Does that imply, this is the question, that the angle, therefore, is not an acute angle, which, of course, is the statement R? Well, the answer is yes. In fact, we can use the law of the syllogism, because that's exactly what the law of the syllogism says. If P implies Q, and in turn Q implies R, then, in fact, we can put these two statements together and deduce that P implies R. So yes, we can use the law of the syllogism to actually verify this conjecture. Neat. How about this one? Here's the given to be true is the following. If a number is a multiple of 10, then it is a multiple of 5. We also know the conditional statement that if the last digit of a number is 0, then it is a multiple of 5. The question is, can we use those two things and the law of the syllogism to prove the conjecture that if a number is a multiple of 10, then the last digit of the number is 0? Well, let's see if we can do this. So again, I'm going to see if I can convert these words to symbols. So a number is a multiple of 10. Let's call that P. And a number is a multiple of 5. Let's call that Q. So we have the first statement is P implies Q. Then the next statement is the last digit of a number is 0. Let's call that, that's a new statement, let's call that R. And that applies, then the number is a multiple of 5, and we've already called that Q. So those are the two things that we know, and the question is, can we conclude that if a number is a multiple of 10, that's P, can we conclude that the last digit of the number is 0, and that's statement R. So can we conclude that P implies R? Well, we can't conclude it by just using the law of the syllogism. No, because you see the law of syllogism says that if you know that P implies Q and Q implies something else, then we can conclude that P implies the something else. But in this context, we can't do that. P implies Q, R implies Q, but we don't know anything about how P implies R. So we can't use the law of the syllogism to verify this. Maybe we can verify this in some other way, but not using the law of the syllogism, which is what we were asked. Neat.